I got to give some credit to Dave Meltzer because he did some research here for us because this all predates my fandom. But Dave would say that his most successful, talking about Lawler, his most successful time period started when he was in his mid 20s. He's 24 when he starts to rise to stardom with becoming a big drawing card in the area as the Southern Junior Heavyweight Champion. His opponent in this feud is Ricky Gibson. So that's the brother of Robert, the father of Eddie.
No. Ricky and Robert Gibson. That you're getting Gilbert's. This is
Oh
Gibson.
yeah. Talk to me a little bit about the feud here in the hair match because that was like his specialty and what he first starts drawing against Ricky with, right?
So yeah, and again, God, and these kind of podcasts and discussions, and you think through it, and things haven't really changed, although surely they've had, and a Netflix deal and a huge rights increase, and AEW, the frontier headed down, and just how the business is. But the very core of it is storytelling, and so the model's changed. Now it's Wednesday to Wednesday on Dynamite, or Saturday to Saturday on Collision, or what have you. But in these days, it was do TV, get their ass to come out, buy a ticket, and then you go back to TV. The episodic nature of the storytelling. Well, Lawler was a Southern heavyweight champion, and Ricky Gibson, again, older brother of Robert. Ricky passed away in a car crash. A hell of a talent. No, he didn't die in the wreck, but hurt, and that ended his
In ring career. Yeah.
career. But anyway, great talent. But Lawler had built him as basically the top heel, and they would bring guys in. Well, guys that could work, like a Ricky Gibson, it was perfect. And then you switch the title and build and all that kind of stuff. But again, I'm going to go back to Lawler's creativity. So every Saturday morning, having the ability to paint the picture so the viewer, who became the consumer, could really drill down and listen and imagine. And he, as a heel, would essentially paint that picture where the people would say, by God, Ricky Gibson is going to get his ass Monday night, and we're going to see a bald Jerry Lawler. Because, of course, Lawler painting the picture verbally of him being, with his head shaved. And he would talk about that on that. But at the end of the day, and that's where the chain got over. When people would come in, and I know this is in the late 80s, Conrad, young talent that would come in and they would say, my God, Lawler just goes in his tights and pulls out a chain, and everybody in the building stands up. What they didn't realize for 20 years is that that's how Lawler, that was one of his finishes. Yes, the pile driver or the fist off the second rope. But Lawler, as a heel, would get his ass kicked, and Ricky Gibson would look great. And the people false finish, and oh my God, we're going to see a bald Lawler. We're going to see a bald Lawler. We're going to see a bald Lawler. Sam Bass or Lawler pull out of his tights, throw that chain in, he wrap it. Cole cocked the guy. Of course, Lawler could throw, still to this day, the most believable punch and knock a guy out, and boom, they would steal the thunder right up from under it. And that is how Lawler built the chain and built the hair match as his specialty. Again, going back to his creativity.
It's pretty remarkable to think how simplistic storytelling could be and how effective it could be. Pro wrestling, when it's done right, you don't have to overcomplicate it. The story in this first big, there's two big sellouts. His first two big sellouts Lawler has are against Ricky Gibson. The first match is where he loses the title to Ricky Gibson as the junior Southern heavyweight champion, and Fargo's the referee. The next time back, in order to get a rematch, Lawler has to put his hair on the line in order to regain a shot at the title, and he does it. But this hair match, that's something that's been around for a long time. I mean, it's still a big deal in Mexico. We saw Sam Adonis, who we talked about at the top of the show, get a new haircut a few weeks ago. But I'm still fascinated that, hey man, you don't have to overcomplicate it. When it's good and it's effective and it's done right, it works. And Lawler was taking that to another level here, week in, week out, was he not?
Yeah, his promo skills. I mean, and again, the Southern heavyweight title, and we're going to get into some world heavyweight title discussions often, but the people in the audience, they were so immersed and felt like they knew Lawler. They hated his ass, like the people in Mexico. They genuinely hate my pompous American ass and everything I stand for. And Lawler, that was him. He was this arrogant king that could wrestle his ass off, but by God, he cheats every damn time. And it's just simplistic but fantastic storytelling.
You know, we're obviously pushing to hype this up, that there's nothing more humiliating than having your head shaved, and that's a pattern that you would see in wrestling. I mean, even JCP 10 years after this is going to be talking about you bald-headed goof. I mean, so hair matches were not necessarily a new thing, but it worked and it sold out, and now we got to turn the volume up, and we would start to see a harder edge with Jerry Lawler because he's that damn dirty heel cheater. So he's going to have the hidden chain, and when he becomes a baby face, that he could still do it, but now the fans are pulling for him to do it. And he's doing these outrageous gimmick matches. And I think sometimes this gets glossed over for whatever reason. People sort of say, oh, well, that's just that Memphis stuff. But Lawler, yes, Jerry the King Lawler, he was even doing Texas chainsaw death matches. I mean, not really, but I'm saying like he's willing to put himself out there with those sort of silly over the top gimmicks. And he's not afraid to get a little violent. Would you agree with that?
And there's a stat, and the Memphis Mark James, or I know Cornette kept great records, or there's historians, all this, but I want to say it's 76. I don't think this was in our notes, but out of 52 weeks, Jerry Jarrett and Jerry Lawler were in some type of match for 46 of the 52. And people today go, what the hell is that about? Now, they were in singles and tags and six mans and stipulations and just all those different kind of matches. But it, again, goes into the episodic nature of how people, I don't say people, human nature. It's a story. And Lawler, again, the brilliance of his storytelling, and you just barely touched on the babyface turn, and I don't know if we're going to get into that. I'll jump into that. The fact that Jerry had the timing or the good fortune, he was going to retire and had became babyface and done the chasing and all that, and they lined up that he's going to retire from wrestling and going to get into a singing career. And he goes on stage and sings it, and handsome Jimmy Valiant cracks him, and so he decides not to retire. That babyface run of Lawler Valiant was a whole nother level of Jerry. And Jimmy was a box office attraction, Valiant Brothers in New York and all that, but it was a whole nother monster babyface run. And Jerry just had that, whether it was Jackie Fargo, Jerry Jarrett, Bill Dundee, handsome Jimmy Valiant. But again, it all to me, centers back on to his ability to tell a story.